things. When you give up those things, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man.
Bothering me is that being a celebrity sometimes comes with, like, everybody wants to be successful in a celebrity and stuff like that, but it comes with, you know, bullshit sometimes, and, you know, that's the only thing that I hate about it.
Bryshere Gray is finally opening up about why his friendship with Terrence Howard collapsed the moment Empire stopped airing, and the reason is darker than most people expected. Terrence knew exactly what Diddy had planned for Bryshere, because they approached Terrence first. Terrence made it crystal clear it was not going down like that. But instead of pulling Bryshere aside and warning him about what was coming, Terrence stayed completely silent and watched as they dismantled that young man piece by piece. And the most painful part, Terrence Howard has spent years publicly positioning himself as someone who stands up to the Hollywood machine. But when it came to protecting someone he called his little brother, he tucked and ran without looking back.
Watching him, you know, he's with my man Charlie Mack. So Charlie was with me every step of the way. First out the limo. So Charlie has been with me, you know, 30 years coming up in the business. So, you know, he's surrounded by a whole lot of strength. He's surrounded by a whole lot of love. And all he has to do is add discipline, and he's gonna be all right.
And it is genuinely hard to look at everything that happened to Bryshere Gray and not feel the weight of just how completely everyone around him failed him. His money-hungry mother, his morally bankrupt role models, and the people he genuinely believed had his back. Now, when it comes to Diddy's predatory behavior toward men, that story is unfortunately nothing new. But the last thing anyone expected was for Terrence Howard to have his own chapter in it. This man has made it abundantly clear throughout his career that he does not swing that way. And with all the pressure he faced as a young man trying to break through Hollywood, Terrence held firm and protected himself. But last year, he shocked everyone when he publicly told the story of how Diddy called him under the pretense of wanting acting coaching for a new role. Terrence said he genuinely believed it was a legitimate request at first, until it became very clear that the real agenda was something else entirely. He shut it down immediately, cut off all communication with Diddy, and from that point forward, kept every interaction at industry events as brief and distant as humanly possible.
He would, for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, you know, he wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music, and he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, you know, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication.
Now Terrence may be largely out of the game today, but during his Hollywood prime, he was an incredibly attractive man, and other producers came calling with similar propositions, offering movie roles in exchange for him bending the knee. He turned every single one of them down, because walking away intact was always going to be worth more than any role, fame, or money could offer. But then the conversation shifted, and Terrence threw shade directly at Bryshere Gray, who played his son on Empire, essentially using him as an example of what happens to a man when Diddy gets to him.
What he had to do in order to get to where he was at. There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head.
But Bryshere is not about to sit back and let Terrence use his pain as a cautionary tale. Because at a young and deeply impressionable age, Bryshere was delivered directly into Diddy and Will Smith's world. And there were multiple people who made that happen. His then manager, Charlie Mack, reportedly collaborated with his own mother, Andrea, to hand him over. And what made Bryshere the perfect target was that he was just 17 when he was discovered, with a family that was willing to look the other way as long as the money and the fame kept coming. That effectively destroyed his entire support system from the inside out. And if he ever tried to fight back, it would have been effortless to paint him as problematic and unstable. But it was not just his mother and his manager who failed him. Terrence was right there too. When they first met, Terrence made a very public show of being someone Bryshere could lean on. He took him under his wing, sharpened his acting, became a protective presence, and even tried to prepare him for some of the darker pressures that come when you have real talent and the drive to match it.
This is the thing with Terrence. He doesn't know how to get out of character when we work. So sometimes I go crazy because I'm talking to Lucius, you know, so I may be like getting into the scene even more than I'm hearing Terrence talk to me as Lucius, and I'm like,
But after Bryshere was introduced to Diddy and Will Smith, Terrence did not just hear about what happened, he watched it unfold up close. Will Smith's former friend Bilal spoke about how Bryshere would show up on set visibly impaired and nearly impossible to work with, lashing out at anyone within reach because he felt every single one of them was complicit in what had been done to him.
In Chicago, this guy's acting erratic. Like, I mean, crazy. He's getting stopped by the cops. There's male prostitutes involved. There's mental illness involved. There's drug use involved. And I'm really trying to see what happened to this guy. And one day he said, you know what happened. You know that Will R-worded me, or however y'all kind of say it on YouTube. You know that Diddy sexually assaulted me. And you know Charlie Mack made me suck his private part. Right? And I'm like, whoa. This was a full admittance.
And Terrence absolutely saw how broken and emasculated Bryshere had become. But instead of standing in his corner the way he had in the beginning, Terrence quietly started pulling away. Their conversations became limited to what was strictly necessary on set. And whenever Bryshere reached out for guidance or just needed someone to talk to, Terrence was nowhere to be found. As much as he knew how shattered Bryshere was, Terrence also understood the math. Publicly siding with him after already rejecting Diddy's advances would have made him a target. Because at the height of that era, Diddy was one of the primary gatebirds of black entertainment, backed fully by Clive Davis, and he was not the type to take that kind of defiance quietly. So Terrence made the calculation to protect himself, stay silent, and watch from a safe distance as Bryshere became a shadow of everything he once was. After Empire ended, the downward spiral continued. Bryshere was arrested for domestic violence and assault in 2020, sentenced to 10 days in county jail with 3 years probation in 2021 after pleading guilty to aggravated assault, and his public presence became increasingly erratic and alarming. But recently there are signs that he is slowly trying to build. His Twitter is now private, he has been posting on Instagram about getting back to music, and there are reports of him performing at nightclubs in Kenya. Word is Bryshere is quietly moving forward, and he is maintaining zero contact with Terrence Howard and every single person who failed him during those Empire years. And people have a lot to say about all of it. The fact that when it comes to Justin Bieber, everybody is praying for him, saying stay strong, but no one is saying the same about Bryce here. Bryce here was such a beautiful young man. I pray for his heart and soul. What do you think about all of this? Sound off in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. Bye, baddies.